Hey, it's Rachel Cooke, your modern mentor. I'm the founder of Lead Above Noise, a firm specializing in helping teams and organizations create better working experiences in service of better results. I recently had the chance to reconnect with one of my very first and very favorite managers. It's been a long time since I worked for him, but my memories of his leadership have aged well, and I got to tell him so. He took it with grace, but also he wanted to know specifically what I remembered most. And I said, I think it was really our one-on-one conversations. You did them better than any leader I had before or after you, and they really fueled the path that led me to where I am today. Or I said something like that, but really, we had the absolute best and most engaging, most productive, most supportive one-on-one conversations. And I've been thinking about what magic they held. It was a lot. Today, I'd love to share some of the elements that I recall most fondly. If you're a leader of a team, I hope there are some pointers in here for you. And if you're an employee and you're feeling hungry for a little more development from your leader, maybe gently forward this episode their way, or pull out an insight or two, letting them know that you'd like to try something a little different in your next one-on-one conversation. But here are some of the things that I think my leader did really well. First, he really understood the purpose of a one-on-one. Through the course of your career, you are likely to have many conversations that meet the numeric criteria of a one-on-one. But a real one-on-one conversation in my book is defined by purpose more than math. A true one-on-one conversation for me is all about the employee and their development. It's not a time for project updates or talk of deadlines or procedure or customer needs. It's a time for you, the employee, to talk about whatever feels most important for you in the moment to help you grow and develop and feel a sense of momentum in your career. This is something my boss just really understood. And anytime I would start to veer into an update of any sort, he would push back and remind me we would have plenty of time for those conversations later. These one-on-ones were meant to be about me and what I needed from him, be it coaching, advice, support, feedback, all the stuff that just makes you better. Next, he totally cleared the deck, as in, he was super present in these conversations. He would never cancel unless something truly urgent popped up. And he was always just really there with me. His laptop was closed. This was pre-Zoom meetings, of course. And his phone was put away. I never felt like he was itching to leave. He would listen fully. He would ask me questions about my goals, my sense of progress, and what I needed from him. These meetings were not long or frequent, maybe 30 minutes once a month, but they just always felt really full of substance for me. Next, he gave me accountability for the agenda. So my boss played an important role in these meetings. He did the heavy lifting of showing up and being present, but my responsibility for how effective these meetings were was even greater. I was in charge of planning what we would discuss, and this forced me to be thoughtful and really take responsibility for my own career. So I'd map out the agenda about a week ahead of our meeting, and this challenged me to think about what I wanted to cover, and it also gave him an opportunity to do any relevant prep. So if, for example, I wanted to use our time together to get feedback on my recent performance, he'd have a chance to do some reflecting and maybe reach out to some of his colleagues as well to put together some thoughtful notes from me. If what I wanted was to find ways to ready myself for a promotion, he might use that advance notice to find out if any jobs were going to open soon, or he might ask a colleague of his to serve as a mentor for me. And if what I wanted was his help in expanding my internal network, well, he'd use that time to put together a list of people he'd like to connect me with. By giving me ownership of the agenda, he really did challenge me to ask myself, what are my goals right now? What will help me move forward right now? And what specifically, be it support, feedback, or introductions, did I need from my boss? Next, he had a bias toward action. He always had a pen in his hand during these one-on-one meetings, and he made sure that whatever we had discussed had a series of actions or next steps attached. A great one-on-one conversation doesn't just stand on its own. It isn't just a bit of dialogue or a touch base. It should be a means of defining next steps, actions, ownership, and timelines, all designed to further the employee's growth and development. Following our one-on-ones, he'd shoot me a quick email with a bulleted list of the actions he'd captured, which held us both accountable to doing the things that we had agreed to. Action and accountability are key And finally, he created an ongoing narrative. I grew up watching sitcoms, which I loved for their bite-sized simplicity. You could watch them in any order because each episode was a complete story, beginning, middle, and end. Today, I can't really tolerate a sitcom anymore, even without the laugh track. They feel kind of basic for me. Give me a show where the story unfolds over the course of all the episodes, like one big juicy story that gets told over time. Through this lens, my boss was more Netflix than network in how he drove our one-on-ones. He really threaded that needle so that each episode, each one-on-one, felt not like a standalone story, but a chapter in something more epic, like my career. Each time we came together, he'd start by asking a question or two relevant to our last conversation, and he'd ensure that whatever we'd be covering this time around felt like a build-upon rather than a sharp left or right from that last conversation. When we'd come together for a one-on-one, I might be asking him for advice on how to pursue a promotion into a role that just opened. And before he'd offer any up, he might say something like, "Well, the last time we met, you asked me to introduce you to some senior leaders on the executive development team. Did you manage to connect with them? And what advice did they offer you that might support your goal of getting this promotion?" Okay, I'm not saying the storyline is as propulsive as the dramas that I stream, but I am saying there's something really valuable in that feeling of continuity, of knowing that what happened last time will inform what happens this time, and that if I keep pulling that thread through these conversations, I'll have an excellent chance of landing a killer season finale. So thanks, former boss, you know who you are, for the gift of your time, your attention, your support, and your partnership in helping me grow to where I'm proud to be today. And I hope you, listener, have found a piece of wisdom in here that you might just pick up and use in crafting your next one-on-one with a boss or a team member. Join me next week for another great episode. Until then, visit my website at leadabovenoise.com. If your organization is looking to dial up its employee experience or deliver some leadership development that activates change. You can follow Modern Mentor on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Find and follow me on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for listening and have a successful week. Modern Mentor is a quick and dirty tips podcast. It's audio engineered by Dan Farabend with script editing by Adam Cecil. Our podcast and advertising operations specialist is Morgan Christensen. Our digital operations specialist is Holly Hutchings. And our marketing and publicity associate is Davina Tomlin.